The waiter set down the dessert tray like it was any other night, but the table had already gone quiet. Marie smiled at him. Alex, as he refilled her glass with the same red I'd bought for years. Vintage, I introduced her to. Now it sat between them like a shared memory I was no longer part of. Her dress shimmered under the low lights. She hadn't worn it in years. Not for me. Alex was wearing cufflinks. My gift. Christmas, 4 years ago. I remembered because they came in the wrong box and she made me rewrap them in the kitchen, laughing. That same half-laugh played on her lips tonight. When she rose to excuse herself, just a quick touch-up, Alex leaned in. She doesn't love you. She told me. She just doesn't want to lose the house. He said it lightly, like a weather update. Then he shrugged. She also said you wouldn't do anything about it. I didn't blink. I just traced the wine ring on the tablecloth with one finger. It had bled slightly at the edge. A small spread, but permanent. Then I looked up. She's wrong. He didn't expect that, not from me. The silence held between us until Marie returned. Lipstick fresh, eyes a little too bright. So, she chirped, should we do presents? I nodded once, reached into my coat pocket, placed a cream-colored envelope on the table. No name, no seal. She looked at it confused. Alex kept his eyes on me. I smiled politely, just enough to be remembered. Then I stood, adjusted my jacket, walked out into the November cold. She didn't follow. If you're still listening and any of this feels uncomfortably familiar, hit like and subscribe. Most people just listen in silence, but that one click tells the team these stories matter. The next morning, the bed was made, my drawer was empty. So was the garage. I left no forwarding address, just the envelope. She wouldn't open it for another 5 years. But by then, it would already be too late. The wheels hummed under me, soft and even, like they didn't know what had just happened. Streetlights passed overhead in steady rhythm. I drove without music, without heat, just the sound of tires and the faint ticking of the dashboard clock. 9:41 p.m. At a red light, I flexed my fingers once on the steering wheel. Then again, it was muscle memory now. The part of me that used to grip her waist on cold mornings, now just holding air. I didn't go upstairs when I got home, didn't turn on the hall light, just moved through the shadows like I didn't live there anymore. The envelope was already waiting. I kept a pack of thick stationery in the desk drawer for thank you notes we never wrote. Ivory paper with an embossed edge. I took out one sheet and wrote, Marie, you won't understand this now, but one day you'll see. That was it. No accusations, no begging, no timeline of betrayals. I folded it once, sharp and exact, slipped it into the envelope. Then I added 2 things. A signed quitclaim deed to the house notarized 6 months prior. A post-dated transfer document for all utilities and tax obligations effective January 1st. She thought she was buying time. I was just shortening the fuse. I walked upstairs with the envelope in hand. The bedroom was warm, faint scent of vanilla candles and her new lotion, not the one I'd known for a decade. The wedding album sat beneath the lamp. She'd been organizing old photos recently, rearranging history. I slid the envelope under the top frame, behind the picture of us laughing outside City Hall. Then I opened my drawer, removed the 2 watches I still cared about, left the 3rd, the one she gave me the year Alex joined her gym. I didn't pack clothes, didn't take my cufflinks, didn't even grab the spare cash under the sink. Because this wasn't an escape, it was a precision exit. I locked the front door one last time, slid my key through the mail slot, and drove east. No music. No calls. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean. At 11:17 p.m., I passed the last gas station out of town. My phone buzzed once, a message from Marie. Where'd you go? I didn't answer. She'd figure it out, eventually. The salt hit different out here. First light came early over the harbor, and the air always smelled like brine and rust. I worked cargo logs and vendor receipts in a trailer with 2 cracked windows and a heater that wheezed more than it worked. Nobody asked about my past, just if I could show up on time and keep track of boat fuel. I went by Sam Carter now. Plaid shirts, shaved beard, cash payments for the first few months until I could reroute things cleanly. I didn't hide. I just stopped being the man she knew. And every Friday night, I'd walk down to a little cafe with decent Wi-Fi and an outdoor heater. 1 hour. Browser window. Marie had changed her last name back, listed herself as widowed on Facebook. Friends commented with sympathy. Someone sent a virtual candle. Meanwhile, her and Alex posted photos from a rooftop bar in Rome, then Paris, then Santorini, each shot more polished than the last. Matching bracelets, sponsored tags. Her bio said grateful and growing. She'd always been good at curating, but one thing didn't add up. A quiet link I kept open. The county property records showed 2 new mortgage liens against the house, refinanced. Fast cash. That was bold, because the quitclaim I left in the envelope, she never signed it, never filed it, never dated it. Without that, the ownership never transferred. On paper, in every legal sense, the house was still mine, and I knew the moment that would matter wasn't now. It was when she thought it never could. I took a sip of the coffee they brewed too strong at the cafe, kept scrolling. There was a picture of her and Alex in Positano. She was holding a glass of something sparkling. Caption, "Here's to letting go of what holds you back." I tilted my head. Let her toast, let them smile in villas and talk about new beginnings. Because I wasn't gone. I just wasn't where they could see me. Yet, the office smelled like old leather and lemon oil. Files stacked in neat piles. A clock ticked somewhere behind me. I sat across from a man named Lambert, real estate law for 30-plus years, tie slightly loosened like he'd stopped trying to impress people a decade ago. I slid a folder across the table. Notarized deeds, tax documents, utility bills. I'd fronted post-disappearance, screenshots of her listings, even a saved PDF of her Facebook widowed status. Lambert flipped through in silence, then paused. "You're telling me she's living there, collecting income, refinancing, and never filed the deed?" "She never signed it," I said. "Left it right where I put it." He tapped the page with one thick finger. "Then technically, it's still yours." I nodded once. "I want to sell." He didn't ask why. Just motioned to his assistant and dictated a notice, certified delivery, polite in tone, legally airtight. 3 days later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail, then played it back in the dark. "Alex." His voice was thinner than I remembered. "You're a ghost now, huh? Just let her have the damn house. You walked. Be a man about it." No apology, no ownership, just entitlement, like I'd stepped out of line by quietly reclaiming what was already mine. I didn't respond. Instead, I had Lambert move forward under intestate abandonment, an obscure but powerful clause when a resident occupies property they have no legal stake in after prolonged absence of the rightful owner. She never expected a fight, so I gave her paperwork, the filing posted on the county record the following Tuesday, public notice, 2-week response window. Silence, the same silence she used to confuse with control. Out here, in this quiet coastal town, I folded laundry as the Pacific wind knocked gently at the window. They thought they'd erased me, but I built the page they were standing on. I wasn't looking for more. But as Lambert pushed the sale forward, the escrow team asked for recent occupancy records. Just to cover bases, that's when I saw it. A listing under a different name, but the photos gave it away. Same kitchen tile I laid by hand. Same stain in the upstairs hallway where she dropped red nail polish in 2016. The Airbnb description even mentioned the handcrafted oak deck with sunset views. My deck. She'd been renting it out for nearly 18 months. I checked the permits. Nothing filed, no business license, no city tax declarations. It was arrogance, plain and simple. She'd turned our home into a side hustle without laying a single brick, and without asking who owned the foundation. I didn't rage, I didn't warn her. Instead, I contacted a quiet firm that specialized in compliance reviews. No names, just an address and screenshots. Then I waited. It didn't take long. 3 weeks later, the Airbnb listing vanished. The platform froze her payout account pending investigation. Terms of service: commercial misuse of residential properties without disclosure or license. A violation. Non-reversible. Then came the letter from the city's zoning department. Cease operations or face fines of up to $12,500 per incident. Her appeal denied. No permit history, no tax ID. I imagined her scrolling in panic, refreshing her payout screen, calling customer service, repeating the story in that calm, clipped voice she used when things slipped out of her control. the same voice she used when she lied to me about just catching up with Alex. Now she was catching up with consequences. I didn't speak, I didn't post, just logged it all. Every timestamp, every flag. This wasn't revenge. It was return on negligence. And I still hadn't raised my voice. The message hit my inbox on a Wednesday. Lambert had CC'd me. Subject line, inquiry, title transfer issue, Marie R. I clicked it while finishing a report at the dock office, rain tapping hard on the tin roof above. Her name hadn't crossed my screen in nearly 3 years, but now there it was again. Not through a message of apology, not through a question of closure, but from a real estate law firm trying to clean up a mess. They wrote, "Our client is attempting to list the property at 2147 Brooklane Avenue and encountered a discrepancy during the title search. Your name is still on record as the sole deed holder. Can you clarify your intent?" I sent it straight to Lambert. He responded with clinical calm. "There is no discrepancy, just a delay in finalizing ownership. We advise your client to review the original marital agreements." Marie must have read that line a dozen times before emailing me directly. It came in at 2:08 a.m. Subject: "You don't have to do this. The body was short. Why are you doing this? After everything, I thought you were better than this." No apology, no admission, just that same old guilt-ribboned attempt at appeal, like I was the one who broke something by enforcing its rules. I didn't answer. Instead, Lambert replied the next morning with 2 attachments: a scanned copy of our prenup signed in her handwriting, dated and witnessed, and one highlighted clause, 7B, voluntary abandonment of marital duties or residence nullifies any future property claims. The ink had been dry since before she ever met Alex. Her freedom had always come at a cost. She just never read the fine print. Now she was realizing it. And she was 3 years too late. The final wire transfer cleared on a Friday afternoon, 4:16 p.m. I watched the escrow confirmation blink across Lambert's screen while sipping gas station coffee in the corner of his office. The buyer, a young couple with a toddler and one more on the way, had paid full asking. No contingencies. They loved the hardwood floors, the west-facing windows, the quiet neighborhood. They didn't know the stories buried in the walls. They didn't need to. Lambert looked over the rim of his glasses. "It's done." I nodded. "Send the notice." Under state law, Marie had 30 days to vacate. The formal letter went out that evening, signed, stamped, and logged. 10 days later, I received a voicemail. The number wasn't saved, but I recognized her voice instantly, sharp at first, then strained beneath the surface. "You think this makes you noble? You left. You disappeared like a coward, and now you want to act like you're some guardian of justice. You're pathetic." I saved the file and backed it up twice, not because I needed it legally, but because in that voicemail she finally spoke a truth she didn't mean to say. She never thought there'd be a cost. She thought walking away clean was a right, that my silence was weakness, that the man who didn't yell would never act. 2 weeks after the notice, a moving truck idled outside the house for 6 hours. I didn't watch, but Lambert did. Marie didn't cry, not in public, but she didn't speak either, not even when Alex pulled up late and stayed in the car for most of the loadout. He helped with one box, then sat on the curb, checking his phone. He left her the following week. Turns out Alex liked champagne kitchens and borrowed luxury, not month-to-month leases and baseboard heating. She ended up in a 1-bedroom on the edge of town, no yard, no deck, no space for curated photos. She hadn't been left. She'd gambled and lost. I walked the harbor at sunset that night. The gulls didn't know. The water didn't care. But I felt it. Not pride, not victory, just the sound of something hollow, finally crumbling under its own weight. 5 years to the day. I hadn't marked the calendar, but the date landed in my mind like a skipped heartbeat. October 3rd, the night I slid the envelope beneath the wedding photo and walked out without slamming the door. That morning, while sipping weak coffee from a chipped mug, I opened a link from an old mutual acquaintance. No subject, just the words, "Thought you want to see this." It was Marie's blog. She'd started it 2 months earlier. Posts about starting over, healing, realignment, mostly fluff, comments turned off. But this entry was different, titled simply, "The Envelope." She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. She wrote about our anniversary dinner, how she thought I was too passive, too predictable, how she used to tell herself I'd never walk away because quiet men don't know how to burn bridges. Then she described opening the envelope. 5 years late, she said it fell out of an old box during a move, the same cream stationery, edges still clean. She quoted the note, "Freedom is expensive. You spent mine like it was yours. Now you owe no one, but no one owes you either." Then she added her own line, buried halfway down the paragraph like it didn't sting. "I thought he ran. Turns out he walked away, and I never caught up." There was no apology, no sudden clarity about Alex or the lies or the house she tried to sell out from under me. Just that one sentence. I closed the laptop, sat still for a long time. Outside, a trawler engine rumbled as it pulled out of the marina. Someone's dog barked twice, then went quiet. The world didn't blink. I didn't need to respond. The letter had done its work. She was finally saying the part she never meant to admit. That silence wasn't absence. It was refusal. To perform. To beg. To carry her choices on my back. The paper had spoken. And now, she was writing the ending herself. It sat at the back of the storage unit under a tarp, behind a stack of dated invoices and spare engine parts. A shoebox, blue lid, frayed corners. I hadn't opened it since the week I left. I didn't need to. I knew what was inside. Her mother's locket, the one with the cracked clasp she swore she'd get repaired but never did. Our wedding photo, slightly warped from humidity, the two of us grinning beneath a burst of autumn leaves. And the ring. The one she left on the bathroom sink the night she thought I was too weak to notice. I lifted the box into my truck without a sound, drove down the coast to a private shipping office. No return address, just a printed label I'd prepared ahead of time. To Marie RC/O Eastbridge Wellness Center. And beneath the barcode in simple black font, from property owner, no card, no closure. Just the 3 things she left behind boxed and returned like forgotten belongings after a lease ends. They said she cried when she opened it. I'll never know if that's true. The receptionist at the clinic told a friend of a friend, said she locked her office door for an hour and came out looking like someone had rewound her life 5 years in reverse. But that wasn't my business anymore. That afternoon, I was standing on a boat deck, hauling crates of smoked cod for a vendor in Seattle. The sky was overcast, water flat and silver like a mirror stretched thin. New job, new name, same quiet. I watched a gull circle, then dive. The captain shouted something about the current, and just like that, the box was no longer mine. Not the locket, not the ring, not even the past it belonged to. I didn't feel lighter, just done. It came in the middle of winter. Thin envelope, uneven handwriting, no return address. The kind of letter you recognize before you open. I stood by the mail locker with salt still on my boots. Snow gathered at the edges of the loading dock, soft but persistent. I broke the seal with a thumbnail. 1 sheet, no date. Just 6 words on the front, underlined once in blue ink. I should have read the fine print. Then a pause, 2 more lines. Not just in contracts, in you. No signature, no apology, no story, just the sound of realization. Long after the house was sold, the ring returned, and the silence sealed in. I stood there for a full minute. The wind cut through the alley like it knew something I didn't. Then I folded the page and slipped it into a folder I kept locked in a drawer. Same folder with the notarized deed, a printout of the prenup, and the voicemail transcript she left the day she was served. Not trophies, just proof that I remembered, even if I never looked again. I didn't write back, didn't reach out, didn't mention it to the friend who sent me the blog post or the dockhand who once knew her cousin. Because some answers don't need an echo. Some wars aren't fought with volume. They're won with stillness, with knowing you never needed to raise your voice to be heard. And that silence, the kind that arrives with a final unopened door, that's the kind that lingers longest. Not loud, just permanent.